Hey guys, Thornton here with a review of the Razer Viper Ultimate. I'm sure everyone at one point or another at least has heard or knows about the Viper Ultimate. It's been around for a while now, but as with new competition entering the market, of course, we're gonna start looking back at these with the Razer Viper Ultimate having a price drop as well as Razer making improvements in their optical switches. I definitely still think it has a place in the market, even with the new stiff competition. You can pick up the Razer Viper Ultimate for just $120 now with the charging dock on Amazon, or you can get the Razer Viper Ultimate just alone with the mouse for $100, so bringing it a lot closer down to where that Model O wireless is, and obviously a long ways away from its original $150 price point, which is really nice to see. As far as box contents go, if you don't get the one with the charging dock, obviously that's not going to be included. You're going to get your charging cable as well as your little adapter, which can be used in conjunction with that dongle to route it around anywhere to help yourself get a better connection. You do only get one connection mode with the Razer Viper Ultimate. That's going to be that 2.4 gigahertz wireless connection, which is obviously only achievable with the included dongle. Once that's plugged into your PC and you have the mouse on, it pairs up easy, super easy setup process. And I have to say, all my time testing different Razer mice with that connection mode, super spot on. I've never had any issues, and the difference between this and a wired mouse for me personally, I cannot tell a single difference. As far as battery life goes, they do advertise up to 70 hours, so a good amount there, and I've been using it for about a week and a half now. I have charged it twice in that period of time, but for me personally, this is gonna last most people, up to a week of gameplay before you'd actually need to charge it, but just good rule of thumb, plugging it in after you're done or every couple days, and you should be good to go. Definitely enough battery life to work with here. Of course, you can charge it with the charging dock, but if you don't have that, the charging cable works just fine. It is using Razer's SpeedFlex cable, and you can use it while it is charging. The cable's not the best, but of course, it's wireless mouse, so you probably won't be using it with it most of the time. The Razer Viper Ultimate comes in at just 74 grams, so not as light as we've been seeing some of the mice released recently, but still with the size and shape of it in hand, it just takes a little bit of time of getting used to, even if you are used to that lighter mouse. And I have to say, it feels really good. After a few hours, you'll be used to it. As far as texture on the shell itself goes, they are using that pretty classic Razer PBT keycap sort of feel on the main shell. And one of the more polarizing features, if you want to call it that, is they do have rubber grips built into each side, which if you don't like rubber grips, it's unfortunate because obviously you can't pop these off like you would with an aftermarket grip. So if that's something that really bothers you, you just don't like the feel of a rubber grip on the side, and you don't want to have to worry about it possibly wearing down over time or warping or anything like that, you just can't do much about it with that. So it would be nice to possibly see Razer change that out for just the more standard shell on the sides and then include grips in the box. So it's an option thing from customer to customer, whether they want to do that. And I can say already where I have my pinky for my claw grip, I can see that grip starting to wear down a little bit there. So definitely makes me wonder, over months of use, how much these will wear down. But overall, I personally really love the feel of the grip, so it's not an issue for me, just something you might want to keep an eye out for yourself. As far as like build integrity or shell goes, as you guys can see, absolutely no holes in this thing. It's really solid, and even with that lighter weight, like absolutely no creaking or flexing in the side panels, and that's even with having side buttons on each side of the mouse. So really solid build overall, and I'm really impressed with how well built and solid it feels in hand. Taking a look at the bottom of the mouse, you do get 4 PTFE feet, and there is no replacement feet included in the box, which is kind of unfortunate. I will say these are not the best feet, but they still are completely passable. They are decently thin, and they just don't feel like the most smooth glide you could of course get. If you want to really get the most out, I recommend just picking up some core pads to really help with that glide, but they're definitely passable. It's nothing that you can't use. They just aren't the smoothest feeling PTFE out of the box. As far as for the sensor, they are using the Razer Focus Plus optical sensor, which gives you a DPI adjustment all the way up to 20,000, so way more than enough headroom there for a DPI adjustment. And I have to say, again, in conjunction with that wireless connection as well as the sensor, feels absolutely spot on, absolutely no issues with tracking with the sensor, as well as no spinouts or faultiness so far. For the shape on the Razer Viper Ultimate is an FK inspired shape, and I have to say, so far, absolutely loving it. It is around a medium-sized ambi shape, and as I always say with those, just generally gonna be a really safe shape no matter what your hand size is or your grip style. You're gonna probably be able to find something really comfortable on this, and that's definitely been the case for me. I've been absolutely loving running a claw grip on this. If you want to, of course, if you have smaller hands, you could hop into a palm on this. As you get down to the smaller hands, I would say that's the only area you might run into an issue as far as not being able to get into maybe a fingertip or a claw grip. But those of you with medium to larger hands, it feels absolutely great for me in that claw to a fingertip style grip. One thing I do want to bring out about the shape is, since there is side buttons on each side of it, if your grip somehow aligns you where your fingers are going to be like right here, on this side of it, you might find that annoying just even though you can unbind those buttons, of course, where it's not actually affecting you in game, just pressing in on that, you know, like while you're in a heated moment and then your fingers are pressing in on buttons, you might find that annoying. So just take a look at where those side buttons are at and think about your grip style. And if your fingers would possibly line up on top of those buttons, you might find that as an annoyance for you. Overall though, again, that medium ambi shape, it's a really nice sweet spot as far as shapes go, and it's gonna work for almost anyone. You do get 8 different programmable buttons on the Razer Viper Ultimate in comparison to the more traditional 6, and of course the reason why, again, is because you get pairs of side buttons on each side, which will obviously open it up to left-handed and right-handed people using it. But if you find yourself accidentally hitting that opposite side of buttons, you can of course unbind them, or if you want to take advantage of them, you could just bind them to other in-game actions or something that you would want them to do, and they could be useful in that way as well. For switches, these are using Razer's 2nd gen, which is improved upon, of course, with their 1st gen. I'll go ahead and give you guys a sound test of them now so you can form your own opinions on how you like them. So far, really been enjoying the mouse 1 and 2 clicks. Definitely feel a lot better than some of Razer's first iteration of their optical switches, and definitely just have more of that traditional mechanical feel to them now, rather than being like instantly able to tell that they're an optical switch and kind of feeling mushy or loose at all. So definitely that nice crispy tactile response to them that was not there in some of the older models or their previous iterations of the optical switch. Definitely does feel different still, but after a few hours of playing on them, you'll be used to them just as you were with a more traditional mechanical switch. As far as pre and post travel, very minimal, and overall, like just the quality control in this mouse, I've just been super impressed with it. Side to side play in the mouse 1 and 2 as well, basically non-existent. Overall, the mouse 1 and 2 just feels super solid, really happy with that. The side buttons, before we talk about them specifically, I want to quickly mention that they are recessed into the mouse, which is different from any mouse I've tried before. So it took me a little bit of time of getting used to. It's definitely not like a deal breaker or anything. It's just something that was different, and I want to point out to you guys if that's something that might cause an issue for you. It's definitely a weird feeling because you can like literally run your thumb up it without having the side buttons stop you because they are completely recessed. But even with that, like after a couple hours, it's no different to me. I mean, it just feels like I'm using a normal mouse. So it just takes a little time of getting used to, but it's something unique with this mouse I have not seen before. As far as the actual like post and pre-travel on them, it is definitely a little bit present there, but they're not that bad at all. A little bit of mushiness on them, but definitely better than most side buttons I've seen on other mice. Scroll wheel is actually one of the more highly tensioned ones I've seen. It's definitely not smooth rolling, so if you're someone who likes that more loose or smooth rolling scroll, this definitely doesn't give you that, but I personally really like it. You get those really defined stages there, so if you like to bind it to things, it's very easy to go between weapons or anything like that that you might be doing in game. On the bottom of the mouse, you will find your final 2 buttons, which you have your DPI button here, which you can press to obviously cycle between your stages, but it also does have a color tied with it, which both the color and the DPI amount can be changed in Razer software. And then you have your on and off button, which will obviously either just turn your mouse on or completely off. Overall, I've been really surprised with the Razer Viper Ultimate and just how much I actually enjoy using it. Again, $100 for a mouse is still spendy, but a lot better than the $150 it was at previously, and now putting it a lot closer in line with where Glorious has their Model O Wireless out. And I will have a comparison video coming soon with the Model O Wireless as well as the Viper Ultimate. And right now I am testing the G Pro Wireless Super Light, so I'll have a review of that coming as well as a comparison if you guys are kind of looking for which is going to be the best flagship wireless for you. If you are thinking about picking this up though, biggest things I would take into consideration is the built-in rubber grips. If that's gonna be something that bothers you, you might wanna look somewhere else, as well as having side buttons on each side. If that's gonna get in the way of your grip style or the way you hold the mouse, might wanna make you look somewhere else as well. But overall, I mean, fantastic shape, absolutely amazing performance, and has all the features to back it up. Definitely worth the $100 in my eyes and a recommendation from me. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you found it helpful, informative, please hit that like button for me, and do consider subscribing for more tech content just like this coming up in the very near future. But I'll see you guys in the next video.